Well, I was pro-choice before, and I always felt that women had a right to choose. And I've had 3 abortions and one miscarriage, and I have 3 children.
My experience was at the age of 15, and I really didn't have a boyfriend. I had like just a best friend guy, and made a bad decision and ended up pregnant in high school my sophomore year. It has affected the rest of my life. You know, we're talking 35 years later, and it still hurts, and it's still important. And I'll never forget. I'll never forget.
The circumstances were that I felt I wasn't ready for, to have a child or to raise a child, or I was too young.
The situation surrounding it was I was a very high achiever in high school. I had to be in the front row. I had to get straight A's. I had to be captain of the softball team. I went to church. My dad was my high school teacher. I felt the best at everything. So for me to make a stupid choice one night and end up pregnant was not okay. I couldn't tell anybody. Nobody. At all. And I had to be strong because I had goals, and I couldn't let anybody down, and I certainly couldn't tell my Christian family.
So the first abortion that I had, I was about 5.5 months pregnant. So I was pretty far along. And I was big. My tummy was big. I was big, and I was like, and I didn't find out until I was, I think I was like 22 weeks. And I said, I cannot have a baby. I am not ready for this, and so I went in. It was a 2-day procedure, and I remember the lady at the clinic telling me, take this pill, and you're going to hear something fall in the toilet. And I had no idea what she was talking about. So I took the pill the day before, and I started having contractions. I was in pain, and I remember something falling into the toilet. And so she told me, whatever it is in the toilet, do not pick it up, do not look at it. And so I did the opposite, because that's what I used to do, and I was about 19 years old. And so I picked it up, and so I had a fetus in my hand. And so I dropped it real quick, because I mean, you can see the eyes, you can see the shape and everything. And so I dropped it real quick, and I continued to cramp. I continued to go through kind of like a labor. And then the next day they put some seaweed stuff inside to do the rest, and then they used the vacuum. And that was my first abortion that I've ever had.
So I walked in, and you think I was going in for a flu shot. They were nice, they were professional, but it was cold, it was freezing. It was like, here's your room. They sat down, do your parents know? No, it was a cold room. They just handed me this gown. They went over the procedure. I mean, there was no emotion, there was no love. And inside of me, I was just like, I wanted to just cry, because one, I was all alone, but then this half of me is like, no, you have to be strong, and you have to do this, and this is the right thing. And so I just, it was the most loneliest, coldest place I've ever been in my life.
So the first one, no, I felt like that was the best decision at the time. The second one, yes, I was very shameful. I was regretful. I had a baby after that, because I wanted to make up for the one that I aborted.
I did, and still do. I don't think you ever get over murdering your baby. That just doesn't go away. In fact, there's recovery groups for that now because we need it, because it hurts. But I know as a woman of faith that my Lord and Savior died for me and for my baby. And He's given me hope that I will see him or her again.
I felt it was the second one. I really did. I think that out of all 3 abortions that I had, that one is the one that hit me the most, where I felt like I made a mistake. I had a third one after I tried to make up after my son. I got pregnant right after, and I aborted, and it was a regular abortion, and I felt that was a choice.
It was, because like I said, I was raised in a Christian home. And so I had to really weigh out what I was brought up to believe, and that God's not okay with this. This is a life. That was my first reaction. The guilt that this is not right. I had to numb myself, I think, and deny what I believed because it hurt too bad. And just let that inner pride and, overcome what I knew to be true. And that was I was murdering my baby. I think always, immediately, but I'll tell you that I have tried to have a baby. I married my knight in shining armor, and all I wanted was a child with him. And I've had 15 miscarriages. So 15 times I laid in emergency, miscarrying another child that I wanted, that I was praying to God for. And was just miscarrying year after year after year after year. Whether I did something with that abortion to cause that physical response to my body, I don't know. Only God really knows. I did get blessed with one son, which was a miracle, and he was 1 pound.
Man, so I didn't realize what abortion was to actually, for me now, the way that I feel now about abortion. I didn't realize that I was killing a child, a human being, until I grew up and until I went to a conference that showed about abortions and about that there's a fetus in someone's stomach and it's a live child, and what right did I have to choose to abort that baby? And that really brought some clarity in my eyes, because I never realized that it was a baby that I was killing. Then it was just a fetus or a bad choice that I made. I regret them all now, and I educated myself, and I'm no longer this pro-choice person that feels like I have a right to choose whether a baby can live or a baby can die, because it's not my choice anymore.
Yeah, it had effects on me mentally. I was, every time I get invited to a baby shower, or a girlfriend would come to me and say, I'm pregnant. My natural reaction, not now because God's healed me, but I couldn't be happy for my friends because I couldn't have a baby, and I blamed it on my abortion and that I was being punished. And so I lived many, many years tormented by 1 hour of a procedure that affected the rest of my life.
Mentally, yes, because I wondered how the babies, I wondered if I was going to have a girl, if I was going to have a boy, was it going to be twins? I felt, so many different things. If the counselor would have done things different, would I have kept my babies? A lot of mental stuff going on in my head, like, why did I do that? How could I do that? How could I have made that choice? God would have provided if I would have decided to keep the baby. So I did go through a lot of mental distress. They would call it like a spiritual awakening. And when I started making really bad decisions in my life, I didn't just make abortion a bad decision. I made drinking, drugs, alcohol, those type of decisions. And I think it was to numb the pain of all of these bad decisions that I was making at the time. And so I woke up and I prayed to God and I asked him to please help me and to forgive me for all of my sins and everything that I've ever done. And that included the abortions, because that's probably one of the worst things that I could have done in my life, And when I went to that conference and it was pro-life, I've never walked out of there with my mind so changed and was all for life until I went to that conference and I was able to see what it looks like and the fetuses and that they're actually alive and that it's a baby and so that changed my mind.
I have a lot of girls in my life now, and they come to me pregnant and they want to have an abortion. And I have begged and I have pleaded with them, you have that baby and you give it to me. I'm your out. If you don't want that baby, Randy and I, my husband and I, will take it. I no questions asked. I'll pay for everything. Do not have an abortion. You give me that baby. And you know what's sad is they will disappear for about 3 days. They won't answer my calls. They won't pick up the phone. And they'll show up at church with their heads hanging in shame. And they went and had an abortion. And I want to scream because I can't understand. I wish somebody would have done that for me, because I probably would have not gone through with it. So I try to be there for them.
I don't even think it's a choice anymore. I don't believe that us as women have a right to choose whether a baby is created in our stomachs. And there's women that get raped and they get, there's women that get raped and they have their child. And if they can do that and they have the heart to do that, I believe in my heart of hearts that we should be able to take care of that baby, because that baby doesn't have a right to choose whether he wants to be alive or if he wants to die. And so I don't even think it's a choice anymore. And I'm truly strong. I will stand on being pro-life today.
Especially now these days, it's horrible. Horrible. My little baby, Connor, was born at 26 weeks. I remember him at 26 weeks. I was rubbing his little hand in the incubator, and when he heard my voice, he would move. And I would, even though he was only a teeny little thing, he was a person. And when the nurse would say, you want this baby to live, he knows your voice. Sit outside his incubator, hold his hand, and just rub him, because you're going to keep him alive. He knows you're his mama, and he knows you're there. And I know today they do abortions at that age. And I cannot even fathom some of the girls that are 5 months pregnant, that they're doing abortions. And I think that I was holding my baby at 26 weeks, and they're killing them at 26 weeks. So what do I think about abortion? I think it's the most cruelest, horriblest thing ever. And there's too many of us out there that our husbands, we can't have kids. And there is a list of families that want a baby. And they'll do anything for a baby. And for a girl just to show up at a clinic for an hour and just say, okay, I'm glad that's over with, breaks my heart.
I would have said, don't do it. I would have said, don't do it and run and leave the other way, walk the other way, because you have a baby in there. And that baby's going to change your life, and it's not the baby's fault. And I would have just told myself that everything is going to be okay, because in the end, I know now that God would have had my back, and He would have taken care of everything that I needed with the baby. Whether I was alone or with somebody else, I would have told myself to walk the other way, and that it would have been all right.
Well, I know what would have been really important to me. One is, I knew my mom and dad loved me. I knew they loved me very much. I got pregnant again in high school at age 18. And because of that decision I made at 15, I said, no way, no how am I doing this again. And I said, Terry, you did this. You take responsibility. So I figured I'd get my parents when they were in a good mood, which was on my senior graduation. And I told them I was pregnant in my cap and gown. And the response I got, my dad stood there and stared at me for a minute. And he said, it better have red hair. Because my dad's Irish. And I thought, you know what? Shame on me. If I had reached out knowing my parents loved me, or somebody in my family, which I had a lot of family. I had aunts that were pro-life, that were against abortion. I had so many people. I just didn't want my own pride and ego. I didn't want to let them down. Instead of tapping into that love that I had within family and friends that would have walked beside me, I would have a child right now that I did not abort, because I saw that they stood by me at 18. And my dad said, we're there for you. We love you. And yeah, you made a bad choice, but our family just grew. And that broke my heart. And I said, never, ever again. And I ended up losing that baby, 5 months. So I'm totally against abortion. And there's too many options. I would, because I'm a loving person. And I know right from wrong. And I know abortion was wrong. That's why I think I ran and didn't tell anybody, because I didn't want anybody to talk me out of it. Because I had to be, that person. I had to be the pet, the teacher's aide, and that is that important. It's not important today, and look at me 35 years later. Being the teacher's aide, did it really matter? No. But killing my baby does.
The first one that I've had I was so strongly, because I was so scared, and I felt that was the right choice. But I don't know what would have happened if someone would have stopped me at that time, the first time, and told me to not do this, and kind of sat me down because I was so young, and tried to explain to me what abortion was and how bad it would hurt me in the end. So would I have listened? I would have wanted to.
Go to, if you're at church, go to your counselors, go to your pastor. If you have a teacher you're close to, somebody that you know that is against abortion, because you don't want counsel from somebody that's going to talk you into abortion, right? So make sure the person you confide in does not believe in abortion. And I guarantee with all my heart, they will walk you through and they will find solutions, and you will be so happy and so free and so full of joy that you made the right choice, whether you keep your baby or whether you bless your baby. Either way, that baby will live.
I would say that you're not alone, and that I was a single mom for plenty of years, and that if I can do it, you can do it too, and that babies are a blessing, and that they are a gift from God, and that once you have that baby in your arms and in your hands, it changes your whole perspective about things. You'll no longer think about me, me, me. It's about us and you and that baby and how you're going to nurture it. And it's a life. It's a life that you have inside of you, and that you have a choice. And there's also choices that you can make, whether it's for adoption, you know, because that baby deserves to live today.
I was almost an abortion. My mom and my dad were married. They were in their 20s. And my mom got pregnant. My dad said, I am too young for a kid. And they were on their way to Mexico to abort me. And my grandmother interfered. She found out, she stopped the car, and she told my mom, you have that baby and you give that baby to me. So they went through the pregnancy thinking to give me to my grandmother. My dad said the minute he held me in the hospital and looked in my eyes, he fell so in love with me. And to this day, I'm a daddy's girl. If he had aborted me, I wouldn't be here to share with you. It's just another, abortion's not the answer. Abortion is not the answer. There's too many options these days, and there's too many people. So find someone you love and trust that is against abortion, and you will be fine. God will see you through. You will be fine. So I want to leave it on a positive note. Abortion's very hard. And as you can see my tears, the hurt never goes away. It's something you live with. But like I said, I know I'm forgiven. You know, Christ died for me. And I know. And I've lost so many babies, and God blessed me with one pound miracle. And a few years back, and then this is the God that I serve. He gave me the most beautiful vision. I was sitting there in quiet time at my table, just had my candle, and I was just sitting there praying. And all of a sudden, I got this vision of like heaven. And it was just beautiful. And I saw all these children running around. And this one little girl, she had like blonde hair to her shoulders, about 3. And she was running around gathering all the kids up in heaven and yelling, she's here, she's here, she's here. And that, to me, was showing me that even though I've lost all these babies and aborted one, that God loves me so much, and he was showing me a hope. They're all with him in this beautiful place, and I'm going to see them again, and I can't wait. That's a hope that God gives me. And he forgives me, and I'm okay today. And I love to go to baby showers.
I just want to say to if any girls are struggling, or if you know you're confused about abortion and what you should do, you should probably pray and ask for someone to guide you through it first, and not just take the word of the counselors at any Planned Parenthood or anything like that. I think to take it to God and find someone godly that will help you through this would be the best decision that you can ever make.